Good morning, everybody. It is just after 9 a.m. on a Thursday morning. You're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We want to get right to it. Our weather. Chris Mulcahy's in the studio right now. Today's weather. I'm ready to be weather alert. And I know you have your eye on the tropics as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to you for a while.
So I want to start here. And I'm just going to let you know that I've been doing this. If you've been watching any time on WCNC Plus, what we're always looking for as meteorologists is plain and simple consensus. So some sort of agreement. And this morning when I got in, I literally made a graphic and I had to just not use it because about 30 minutes before showtime at 4:30 a.m., it had completely shifted. And this is the same model that I used yesterday. And what it did was it took this secondary storm that hasn't even formed, will be Imelda. And I've said on this show, beware of the I names. I'm looking out for our Imelda. And as of right now, that's a good possibility. Yesterday here, and even when I got into work, it was looking like the technical term Fujiwara was going to come to be. You have Umberto that was going to move in, and that was going to drag Imelda away, and then, hey, don't worry about it, wipe our hands of it, we're good, we go on with hurricane season. But there was a major shift this morning that I don't like. So let's start with Umberto. Umberto, the next update we're going to have is around 11 a.m. Umberto will become a major hurricane. I'm not worried about this one, at least for us. Bermuda still has to watch out. Winds at 45 miles per hour. But then what Umberto is going to do is start to accelerate in the next couple of days. And then we start to see it really go through its rapid intensification, I would say late Saturday through early Monday. At that point, it looks like it's going to become a Category 3. So that would be our third major hurricane of the season. Now, we don't have the data on the next one, but the reason why I think things have changed so much is Umberto has slowed down. This other wave has not. So now this other wave, that big area of red, now has a 70% chance for developments over the next 2 days. And put it in perspective, Helene, and I'm not comparing this to Helene by any stretch of the imagination. I just have been looking at this recently, and also Helene officially became a hurricane on this day. Well, Helene was a 70-90% chance, and then within 48 hours, it became a Tropical Storm Helene. So usually the 70%, when you're in that red, it's a good chance it's happening over the next couple of days. Just what this storm system has to do in the near term is try to clear out from around the Dominican Republic that it's at, around Haiti, and then move north. So let's get right to that. The most recent measurement, nothing too major at this point, just really a coastal low that is churning right down here, as I mentioned, around the Dominican Republic. It's called Invest 94L at this point. And that was the 8 a.m. advisory. Winds at 30 miles per hour, gusts up to about 40 miles per hour. It's moving northwest at about 16 miles per hour. So that's actually pretty substantial that we have here. Umberto is moving at about 10 miles per hour. So you see the difference, 5 miles per hour? That means that we're going to have this storm start to kind of accelerate. So this is that complicated graph, and I'm going to simplify it for you that I was showing you yesterday. This brings us up, notice in the upper right corner, Sunday at 6 p.m. You have Umberto that looks like it's about the same latitude or so, but what's changed, and you're seeing an agreement here, Imelda is much closer to the United States. So that means instead of being directly influenced by Umberto or the Bermuda High in the middle of the United States, it's actually going to be stuck along a jet stream that is really close to the U.S., which would keep it closer to there. Where at this point, by the end of the weekend, it's in the northwest Bahamas, and it does look like it starts to accelerate. Now, this is where things go haywire, and this is where I don't like to see. Actually, the most recent update is even worse. It's even worse because now it's trending more things into the Carolinas. So what I was revealing and watching real time, what was looking like a savior of Umberto moving out is now turning into a North Carolina potential tropical storm minimum, hurricane maximum. And there's a bunch of different things that can happen here. Now, the one thing that can help is some wind shear trying to break up this beast. But watch the spaghetti plots. Just taking Umberto completely out of the mix, there's not as much of a curve. We're now officially, I can say live, that I have watched one line go to 2, go to 4, and now you can see a majority of these lines, and we look for a consensus, is trending in the United States. It could trend a little bit further south. Right now, South Carolina is in line. And also another thing that's kind of changed a little bit, the wind shear. See how that red? It's going to break up its development, so at least that could prevent some rapid intensification, still really warm waters as it comes. But this is now Monday into Tuesday. We're seeing a solid agreement that we could potentially have a landfalling tropical cyclone again here in the Carolinas. And I'm hoping things change. But my hope keeps on lessening because each model run trends it further west, trends it further towards the United States, and trends it into the Carolinas. I am here not to scare. I'm here to make you more aware. I honestly, if we weren't streaming, would have hoarded this and really waited for more model runs because the last thing you want to do. But I'm going to bring something up. This is plain and simple. There's not a lot of verbiage here because the news update was 8 o'clock. But here's the bottom of this. So that little 70 to 90% chance. Let me see. Interest in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Turks and Caicos. And the Bahamas should monitor the progress of the system as heavy rains and gusty winds are likely across the region regardless of development. Interest along the coast of the southeastern United States should also monitor the progress of this system. That was not there yesterday. That was not there this morning. That was not there at 2 a.m. So now, even by the National Hurricane Center, this is not crazy Chris going outside of the things. I'm not being as goofy as I am because, being honest, I don't like this shift because a lot of major hurricanes that we've had in history have come from this direction. There's some things that are working against it, so I'm not saying that this is the end-all. Like, for instance, I mentioned wind shear. The reason why that's good is hurricanes are fickle creatures. They like to be vertically stacked. They like a normal hurricane flow. When you're getting wind shear, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, that's stronger winds aloft, weaker at the bottom, or it can be a change of wind direction with height that disrupts that eye wall. So oftentimes that can break it up. So that's good. It's driving into some wind shear, so that's one things that are working against it. Here is one of the first things that I saw that was kind of like idea number 2 that, oh no, this isn't going to be a good idea. Look at the rainfall that potentially can come from this. One of these models, by the way, was showing about 1 inch total across 7 days. That brings us through Wednesday. Yeah, again, this is just model data. All right, so these are the top 2 ones that we look at for long-range models, by the way. Typical rain through the weekend, Monday into Tuesday. So the difference is one trends further north, one trends further south, and I looked at a third. They are still doing that Fujiwara thing that I was mentioning, but that's one. Now I'm looking at 3 out of 4 that are trending into the Carolinas. So this is at the point, this is not go, this is just, this has our attention. This has the Carolinas' attention, potential big rain. Even here in Charlotte, like look at some of those totals that you are potentially seeing. And going back to this jet stream pattern, if you look really closely, just look where the arrows are moving. So this brings us to 3 o'clock on Friday, so tomorrow. You're seeing that big clockwise rotation here. Let me stall it here. I'll actually draw the arrows here. Because really throughout WCNC Plus, I've just been processing the information. And I do not like that. I can't believe it. I was going to say, it was like, well, at least most of the lines are leading it out to sea. That changed. All right, so what you're looking at right here, see this? See that big flow? That clockwise rotation in general, that is the technical Bermuda high. That actually moved further west. Meanwhile, you also have Umberto that's going to try to move up, and you have a direct blast source, direct wind floats going north. You can see that little dip in the jet stream here. Let me draw it. This right here, this is technically an upper level low, and that's associated with that front that's moving through. So it's almost kind of that perfect thing. Before putting up the Heisman trying to block it, it actually could steer it into us. So, and it's all mainly for one reason. Imelda's moving much faster. We're talking 15 miles per hour versus 10, and she's already close to the United States. I'm saying Imelda now like it's an actual name. It hasn't become even Imelda yet. It's just 94L. So I just want to kind of put that in perspective. Now, here's the precipitation. So showing that rain, we have on and off rain. A long-range model is very chunky. You don't really have any big details here. But this has Monday at 1 a.m. having a potential of that low-pressure system. And again, a lot of this can change. This could switch right back to moving and about to sea. It's just not heading that direction. But this has, as we know, basic meteorology, the more concentric circles like the rings of a tree you have, the stronger the winds. And then that very center one would be the potential eye wall. This is Monday at 7 p.m. roughly in the northeastern side of North Carolina. Here's model 2. Again, when they disagree, you're like, okay, we have a chance. When they start agreeing, that's the consensus that we're talking about. You just saw the time. This is 7 a.m. on Tuesday. So not only are they starting to agree in the direction, they're within 12 hours of each other. So again, I'm going to keep on saying again because I don't want to be this alarmist. That's not my style. That's I'm information first. That's why I usually hoard this. But what you're going through right now is literally my brain as I'm watching this. And a lot of times I'll kind of hold that back. And again, I'm hoping that's not the case in scenario because, like, where's this even going to go? What does that mean? Well, here's another look. This graph that you're looking at to the right here is from a website called tropicaltidbits.com. So what it does is it takes all those spaghetti plot lines and it tries to estimate what the wind speeds are going to be. So you can't see as well for the general timing of things, but we have everything in a tropical storm strength over the next 3 days. So that would bring it into Friday, Saturday to Sunday. But we do see some indications, the middle line, that at least gets to hurricane strength. So we do have some of that. I won't even mention the worst case scenario with that. But just in general, you are having things trend that general direction. A lot of those spaghetti plots, some still curving out to sea, but that's old. That's about an hour old. We've seen the most recent runs are definitely showing that. And this is the first graphic that I showed. It was at the end of the first half hour of 7 o'clock. I think it was right before 7:30 that I saw this because I'm like, all right, well, the yellow model's good because before we were seeing it, but Umberto's so far behind, they both are trending. You have to look to the one on the left. They're now starting to line up. And it's at that point that we're like, okay, we're having a little bit more confidence in the forecast. So what does this mean? What am I even trying to trend here? What I'm saying is, for one, Charlotte's ended the forecast, and I said this is a possibility. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, middle of next week is changing. It's likely going to be a cloudier forecast. It could be breezy here. We could see some rain. There's still a lot that can change here, but now this has our attention where this potentially could go. And I'm hoping that things start to turn the other direction, but for now, this is it. And the National Hurricane Center is going to give you an update every 3 hours. So the next one that comes down is 11 o'clock. So here in the Impact Studio, we'll actually be at Charlotte today at that point, but then by 2 o'clock, there'll be another one. So we'll continue to really update you every 3 hours where this thing is going to go and once it's officially named. But we'll just eventually see. So it's kind of a crazy developing situation. I'm just right now, let's just hope that it changes.
What do you think? All right, so when do you think is the naming of Imelda?
I would say right now things are trending by tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Or this time tomorrow?
It's tough to say. Let me just kind of look back at this general chart. It needs to find its center of circulation. It needs to clear the Dominican Republic. Yeah, I would probably say tomorrow afternoon is where things are trending. Mm-hmm. Because like as a similar kind of setup for the once Umberto got the 70%, it was the next day. Yesterday we were saying that it would be in the afternoon, but yeah, I would say sometime tomorrow, but likely tomorrow afternoon where things are standing right now. Okay. And that's also faster than it was before. So that's the big piece there. The scenario that would help us, and I'm not seeing that at this point, is Umberto speeds up. So if Umberto speeds up, that takes kind of the control away, and that also, and if Imelda slows down, that also allows that front to move further out to the east.
Okay.
So it would be a good possibility.
That could happen.
Yeah. No.
So much can happen between now and.
So much can happen. That's why I'm saying, being honest, I almost feel irresponsible, just because it's impossible to not sound like an alarmist when you're doing these forecasts, but I feel it's also kind of a justice for you to go through my process, because I've been on air since 4:30. Right. I haven't had a chance to sit down. I've been talking about this. So what you have now that we stream from 7 to 9 o'clock, you have my brain as I'm looking at things if things change. And so in my brain right now, I'll temper what I say here. In my brain right now, this is now consuming my attention. It's raining right now in the Charlotte area, and this is what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I just want to kind of put that in perspective. A lot can still change. A lot will change. But now you know that it has attention of us here, has my attention, has the attention of the National Hurricane Center to be potentially the first really impactful storm we've had in a while here this season. Now, of course, the last one was around Chantal.
Wow.
And then we had indirect impacts of Aaron.
That's right.
Yeah.
It seems a while ago.
It seems like forever. You almost forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Aaron was a monster storm, Category 5, but then moved out to sea, and we saw the impacts there. So last thing that you want here. So, again, I think this is our best hope right now. That's everything I'm seeing right now. I hope that another meteorologist comes in the studio and says, oh, man, Chris was worried for nothing. So let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Well, the awareness, and we appreciate the process in real time as you're looking at it, keeping us sort of
Right.
in the periph.
Yeah,
A lot
and-
of people have, like me, family on the coast.
Yeah.
In Charleston.
Best be prepared.
You know, it'd be nice to, Mom, I know you're watching. Here's a
Hey,
heads
Mom.
up. Hi, Mom.
Yeah.
Hope you're paying attention.
And also, you're going to, this is all hearsay, because when it becomes a named storm,
Right.
you're going to get the cone. You're going to have like the general idea, and then it's going to change because like even Helene, for example, was trending much further west and then went further east.
Right.
So yeah, that cone could do it. It might not even be a direct landfall, but no matter what, that does look like it's going to be the trend. It is moving faster, and it is affecting us earlier, and it is much closer to the United States. Those are one things 100% we do know for sure, and I don't really see that changing.
All right.
Okay.
Impacts yet to come.
Do you want to talk about our local forecast and put this in the
Yes,
rearview
yeah,
mirror?
because I was saying, I
Okay.
was thinking, you said it was good. It's raining today. Yes,
Yeah.
is it?
So let's move on. All right, the Chris that you know and love is back.
We love all versions of Chris.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. No, but it's just kind of my duty. Of
course.
That's one of those things. I might be called out for this later, but just letting you know, it's not my nature to ever overhype things. So let's move on. Okay, so looking at the rain that we have right now. So this rain is now starting to expand into our area. We had some decent downpours, especially in the mountains and the foothills overnight tonight. Well, this is holding together pretty nicely. It does look like it is going to generally push off towards the northeast, so you can pretty much use I-85 as a guiding line, and that's what we've been seeing a lot for in general. I drew this line at 5 o'clock, by the way, and it's been pretty much holding true to that. So it does look like we're going to have this first pulse of rain, have a little bit of a lull, and then another one is going to start to move in. So that's one thing that I'm really looking at. And let's see, let's move on to my, there's so many hurricane graphics now in place. Get back. All right, so here's an example. It shows the 9 o'clock hour. This futurecast is a little bit off. I think it's a little bit ahead of schedule, but one thing for sure is that I haven't seen that line is weakening, so it's really now until about noon that we're going to call for that rain chance. I mentioned there's a little bit of a lull before more rain starts to move back in, so this breaks up a lot. So yeah, we are still weather impacts, weather alert for today. It's just that it's a very low chance because oftentimes the Storm Prediction Center will say these are the ingredients because it's humid. It is so humid today compared to where we have been, and that's the noticeable difference. And if we get sunshine a little bit later on, we could redevelop some storms a little bit later in the day. But I would say really it's about now until noon and about 9 until midnight, coincidence there, that we have, I think, our best thunderstorm chances. But this just proves it. It'll be 81 degrees by 11 a.m., but it'll feel like 86. So that just shows that we have a lot of atmospheric fuel there that could be potentially bringing this. And then tonight we're going to be down to around 70 degrees, but then really going forward, we're just having a lot of hit and miss rain. It's really what I think the best way to put it, periods of rain over the coming days. They're going to be the dominant feature of our forecast. And I think Saturday is standing out a little bit more than some of the other days. So Saturday I could see us seeing widespread rain for 2 to 4 hours and we take a break. Widespread rain for 2 hours, then we take a break. So let's get there. This is Saturday morning at around 1 a.m. as you can see. And then you continue to see on and off, little breaks. Here, let's bring it there. Let me see. That brings us to 2 p.m. Seeing some more rain start to move back in. and then bringing about mid to late afternoon, even a little bit of sunshine before more showers start to move in. And then the back end of the forecast is just really all dependent what soon to be Imelda is going to do, how that all interacts. And we're seeing more upper level rain just because of more rain because of the upper level low that's moving in. That's giving us more moisture. That's going to keep things humid. So even though we're in the 70s, it's still going to feel pretty humid during this time. Most people see 70s like, ooh, fall-like weather. No, it's a tropical 70s. It will get a little bit better, but it's still, there's a big question mark, and I was worried about that because we have one big piece that we don't have all the information for. I did up our rain chances. I think it's going to be cloudy regardless. We're going to have a big deck of clouds for your Monday and Tuesday, but right now they're consistent at 74, so a lot's going to change there. So of course, your WCNC weather team is going to keep you updated and let you know if you need to be weather alert.
And Charlotte FC, I see the logo there on the Saturday 7-day.
It does look like, as I showed you, that maybe they hit that lull. So the end of the afternoon looks to be dry, so that actually might trend in a good direction. So the pulse at this juncture looks to be off, but we'll see by tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Chris Mulcahy in the Live Impact studio, and keeping an eye out on what is probably expected to be named Imelda here soon.
Yep.
Sooner than later. All right. He was talking about taking a break, 2 to 4 hours. We're going to take a 2-minute break. How's that? Here are Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:25. As we are talking about hurricanes, we're coming up on the 1-year mark since Hurricane Helene hit parts of western North Carolina, including so many areas of our viewing area like Avery County. Richard Devane talking about a story where one man is a survivor. He can speak on his experience now because of a last-minute decision. His story here on WCNC Plus.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. You know, when anyone who knew how devastating Helene would be to this area would have evacuated, would have gotten out the first chance they got. People just didn't know how bad it was going to be. That's why when John Randall got a call from a neighbor saying he and another neighbor could go up to higher ground to wait out the storm, initially he was hesitant. But then he took that friend up on that offer, and he says that ultimately probably saved he and his neighbor's life. Now, as we look at the video, Well, we can tell you it's been a year since Helene tore through the high country, causing devastation and is sending the area into a tailspin, if you will. We were able to speak with John Randall, who's from Avery County. He shared that last-minute decision was ultimately a lifesaver. He lives near Newland, and he's looking at the damage left behind by Helene. His house shattered after floodwater swept through his subdivision, causing more than $100,000 in damage to his house. Other houses destroyed altogether. Floodwaters left behind mud and debris inside his home. Much of what was inside on the lower floors damaged or destroyed. He's one of hundreds of people in Avery County who are still dealing with the financial as well as emotional toll of last year's storm. But Randall says he feels fortunate that he and his neighbor Phyllis accepted a friend's offer to ride out the storm further up in the mountain. That choice may have ultimately spared his life. He says he's grateful to be here, even as there's painful reminders of Helene still remain.
People still, I get emotional. There was a family that was standing there, and the wife and mother got washed in, and they saw her carried away. And when I woke up Christmas morning, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I started crying because I was thinking about the children that all these kids, wanting gifts and stuff at Christmas. They would have loved to have their mom back.
Yeah, that is a tough one that a lot of people deal with, the thoughts of those lives lost and the damage caused by Helene. Some folks still trying to rebuild, some folks still trying to get back on their feet 1 year later. We're right here in Blowing Rock. This is Richard Devane.
And we have teams up in Boone for the week here. Live coverage from Boone in downtown King Street, talking about the stories on survivors, recovery, and all the efforts still happening 1 year later. That continuing until Saturday, the actual day 1 year ago when Helene hit. We'll have more stories about Hurricane Helene and 1 year later after the break. Just after 9:30 on a Thursday morning, you're watching Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal as we bring you local, live, state, and national as well as international news headlines as they come through our WCNC newsroom. We appreciate you downloading the WCNC Plus app to your Roku, Fire, and Apple TVs and spreading it across through your offices, your relatives across the country, as well as perhaps, any nearby business. Speaking of nearby businesses, Helene, the 1-year mark coming up this weekend. We're bringing you the stories as some folks are still recovering, some are surviving, they're thriving now, and some are they're just basically resilient. Our Nick Sturdivant talked to one such person out of the Appalachia Comics Project, a writer joining forces and teaming up with other illustrators to tell some of the stories of resilience with Helene.
All right, welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Carlene is here. Jeb is here. Thank you for continuing to stick with us, stay with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So we have a special guest here on Live Impact News. I'm excited about this one. So, and as you know, all week long, and even beyond just this 1 week, as we commemorate and look back and reflect on 1 year since Hurricane Helene, we've been telling the stories of survivors of the rebuilding of Western North Carolina. Those folks still have a long way to go, but it is great. Sort of my takeaway, it's great to see those folks continue to come together to rebuild the resiliency. Guest that we're having on is, a collaborator with Good Trouble Productions, and he recently launched the Appalachia Comics Project to help people in Western North Carolina tell their own stories. Andrew Iden is here. Andrew, who lives in, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Andrew, who lives in Western North Carolina, is a New York Times bestselling author, National Book Award winner, co-author, alongside the late U.S. Congressman John Lewis, a graphic memoir, March, and its sequel, Run, which chronicles Lewis's life in the U.S. civil rights movement. Again, embarked on this really cool project, Appalachia Comics Project, working with among dozens of beloved comic book creators participating in this project. Andrew, I know that was a big intro, but I just want to say thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News.
No, Nick, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because we gotta tell these stories.
Yeah, very important stories. I guess let's start here. How did this sort of come about, this project come about?
Yeah, I live in Edneyville. I had moved to, this is my mother's farm. She had, in many ways, built it from the ground up, and I moved there after Congressman Lewis passed, and I left his congressional staff, and I love it's the Apple Valley, and I love my neighbors, and I love the community that we have out there in Edneyville, and then Helene hit. And I was out there in a way that really it was terrifying. I mean, I'd never seen society collapse like that in a way where it was like for like a week you couldn't use cash. Right, you couldn't get through even the essential roads, and but what was so amazing about it is that everybody pulled together and we were taking care of one another, and you could tell who the helpers were because they just started doing the work. They didn't need permission, or they didn't do it for likes on Instagram or whatever. They were just going out there helping people, putting food in people's hands and fuel and everything else, and after things started to get back a little bit closer to normal, it really became apparent to me that there was a lot of misinformation going around about what happened during Helene. I think we've had people who've, profited off of it and made all sorts of sort of wild accusations and things about what the government did or didn't do. But to me, this storm was really about how people came together to save one another, right? And this resilience of the community that we have in Western North Carolina is just a beautiful example for the rest of the state and the rest of the country. And so I did what I did. I called my friends who make comics, and I was like, guys, we gotta help my neighbors and my members of my community tell their stories so that people know what really happened during this. And we just started from there and put the word out, and one little news article in the Smoky Mountain News, and we got like 36 people asking to tell their story, more than we could possibly afford to make. And so we've been raising money, getting donations through AppalachiaComics.org. We've been doing a Kickstarter. It's just all about giving people who survive the storm the opportunity to have their own voice, right? Because all too often we overlook Appalachia as a place, even though it is a region of storytellers, and they have these incredible stories that really are inspirations that we could all use right now.
Yeah, Andrew, to hit on the point you just made, I think the common misperception is, those folks in the mountains, they're isolated, and but they are so friendly, they're so nice, they want to share their story, they obviously need to help there. And I want to ask, so the initiative obviously is Appalachia Commons Project, but Islands in the Sky is a anthology, and is basically pairing survivors there and folks there in Western North Carolina with these comic creators. Like, what was that like, pairing them together, and what are some of the stories that came out of that collaboration?
The amazing thing that people forget about Appalachia is that Appalachia loves comics, right? I mean, whether it's you read Demon Copperhead and what Barbara Kingsolver wrote about it, or this is where I read my first comic. I got it at the Piggly Wiggly over off Old Hendersonville Highway, and so to have these people who have these incredible stories, like one of them is a story about what happened to the animal rescue. Another is a story about a woman who was supposed to get married the weekend of the storm and ended up getting married anyway. And other stories are about a reporter and struggling to report the news. And then someone who got rescued from the roof of their home, and just all sorts. I mean, the full breadth of the experience that people had during the storm, because they're all so human. But it was amazing to first get so much support from my friends and colleagues in comics. A lot of these writers like Brian Michael Bendis and Matt Fraction and Gene Yang, Alex Segura. I mean, like, there's Pulitzer Prize winners in here. There's MacArthur Fellows. I mean, these are really incredible creators, right? And so they're all stepping up and they all want to do this. And the writers are just doing this as volunteers. They're just doing it because they want to help these folks.
All right, we're going to put a pin in that interview previously recorded here on WCNC Plus with our Nick Sturdivant. What a great story, what they're doing there, and just being creative and telling the stories of other folks and resilience from Helene 1 year later. We're going to switch now to some health news this morning as we come up on 9:40, because for nearly 200,000 Americans diagnosed with blood cancers each year, completing treatment is just the beginning of an anxious waiting game. The thoughts are, what if this cancer is going to return? If it does, then what? But if doctors could predict a relapse before it happens, maybe even prevent it, that would be some kind of breakthrough. So joining us this morning is Dr. Yulia Linares, a leading expert in blood cancer treatment. Doctor, thanks for joining us here on Live Impact News.
Thank you.
Doctor, talk about the specific type of lymphoma and how common is this among blood cancers?
Large B-cell lymphoma is one of the most common blood cancers. About 25,000 Americans are diagnosed with large B-cell lymphoma a year. It is a very treatable blood cancer, but unfortunately, after the initial success, about 1 in 3 patients will relapse. And the current approach to relapse is watchful waiting. Basically, what we do is we follow patients with physical exams and scans, waiting for relapse to happen. And of course, that can be very nerve-wracking for patients, families, and their physicians. Currently, we do not have approved technologies to predict the relapse or to treat it before it happens.
It has got to be an emotional toll for patients dealing with cancer of any kind, but you treat those with lymphoma this type regularly. Those who finish treatment but live with uncertainty, tell us what that journey is like for them and what can give them hope.
So what we're trying to develop are new technologies to detect the relapse before it becomes symptomatic, before it becomes visible on the scans, because usually that's what we do, is we basically wait for symptoms to happen, for the relapse to show up on the scans, and that is really a rocky journey. So in ALPHA3 trial, we're looking into minimal residual disease technology. This is a special technology that is able to detect cancer signature in patients' blood at the minimum level. When that cancer signature is detected after seemingly successful initial treatment, we know that this is the patient that is most likely to relapse. But what are we going to do about this relapse? And that's what ALPHA3 trial addresses as well.
All right, so this detection system is unlike a traditional scan, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's a molecular technology. Basically, patient's blood is used to recognize this cancer signature, and the cancer is detectable at very trace levels. So basically, it is not detectable with regular scans when it is detectable with the special MRD, minimal residual disease technology.
All right, then if you do find that, what is the preventive treatment for patients who could be going through this? What kind of therapy would work?
So currently, there are no FDA-approved therapies to eradicate cancer at the minimal residual disease level. But in ALPHA3 trial, what we're doing is we're studying cema-cel. Cema-cel is a novel immunotherapy, chimeric antigen receptor T-cell therapy. Basically, it is immunotherapy made of immune system cells that are specifically trained to recognize and kill cancer cells. And in ALPHA3 trial, what we're doing is we're administering cema-cel when lymphoma is detectable at minimal residual disease level only. So what we're doing is we are attempting to eradicate cancer before it comes back in full force.
All right, for patients and families who might be interested in this kind of trial, what should people do? Where can we get more information?
They should go to alpha3trial.com for more information about this groundbreaking trial.
And then what is your message really to patients or families going through this experience right now, dealing with such a diagnosis?
I would say explore new options, explore clinical trials and clinical trial possibilities, because you may encounter technologies that are able to improve your prognosis in the long run.
All right, Dr. Yulia Linares, thank you so much for the information. A leading expert here in blood cancer treatment. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.
And we'll take a break and be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus at 9:46. We are continuing the recorded interview here on WCNC Plus with our Nick Sturdivant and a local writer with Appalachia Comics Project here on WCNC Plus.
But then when you connect them, right, because we tried to be very deliberate about who got paired with who so that it really accentuated their story. You know, somebody might be, the perfect person to write a story about animals, or perfect person to write a story about love, right? And then I would get these notes. I remember I was at a convention in Charlotte this spring, and one of the survivors who was telling the story came up, and he was like, "Oh my God, man, I can't believe I get to work with Greg Pak, who's a well-known comic writer that he was paired with," and to see that excitement, right? And then at the same time, giving them this vehicle to tell their own story and be in control of their own story, right? Which is so essential. I mean, this is something that I think people all over the country struggle with, which is that someone else is oftentimes telling our story. And what really happened, the point of view that we all individually have gets obscured in favor of sort of a muddled single narrative. And here, Islands in the Sky is a collection of these stories. They're, 8, 10, 12 pages long, and each one is a chapter by the survivor with the creators, showing in great detail exactly what happened to them. And it's not always tragic. I mean, some of these things are beautiful, right? But in the understanding of all the different experiences through this multi-chapter effort, Islands in the Sky, this allows all the people who didn't go through Helene to understand more completely and more fully all of the types of human experiences that occurred.
I do want to ask, related, a little unrelated, but related. Bear with me for a second. So I remember watching an interview that you did about 10 years ago at this point, and you were talking about your work with Congressman John Lewis, the late Congressman John Lewis, and he was wrapping up a re-election campaign, and he asked folks, what are they doing after everything, dies down? And folks said, I'm going to go with my family, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You said, I'm going to go read comics, and somehow that developed a partnership because of, he pointed out, there were comics about MLK that were very influential. Did you ever, I say all that to say, and again, thank you for bearing with me on this story, did you ever think about the late congressman as you were developing this project?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Congressman Lewis always used to say, you got to tell the whole story. You got to make it plain. You got to make it real. You got to dramatize the conflict. And, part of the idea that March represents is that at the time, I was 23, 24 years old, working as John Lewis's press secretary on his re-election campaign, right? Like, I was already in a room that folks at that age don't often get into. And he trusted me to tell his story, but it was also because folks had forgotten what he had done at that point, right? They had overlooked all of the different elements of his history, right? Because he was thought of for Selma, and they'd forgotten the freedom rides and the sit-in movement and the Mississippi Freedom Summer and everything that he did in between that led to these great moments, right? And it helped, in a way, reinvent him. And I think that framework and that understanding that the way we've done things in the past, right, your traditional publishing models, your traditional media efforts are not always going to work at the grassroots level, right? Because John Lewis was so grassroots, right? I mean, this was a man, I'll never forget driving him around on a campaign, and we went to the Burger King, and the lady through the drive-thru goes, "John Lewis, is that you?" You know what I mean? And so it was like he knew everybody. He loved people. And yet, even then, his story wasn't always being told the way it should have been, right? And so we had to use comics to reach audiences that weren't being reached otherwise. And so when I started thinking, Appalachia has this long history of not having their story told, of having outsiders telling their story for them rather than with them, right? I mean, this is a similar problem that they have in the Black community, where folks in the Black community don't get the opportunity to tell their story with them. They'll write a book about John Lewis. They won't write a book with John Lewis. You know what I mean? And so we got the same problem in Appalachia. And so if John Lewis helped me build this model, and we did it through friendship and partnership over a decade and a half, there's a real sort of intellectual precedent for why we should do this, right? Because it's not just convincing the survivors or even the people on the ground to read it or to make it. It's about convincing all the people around the country to support it and embrace it, right? And if we could point to John Lewis and say, look, this worked for him. This is how we bring understanding to Appalachia. This is how we bring understanding to a people who've been overlooked and neglected for decades. I mean, it was on my mind the entire time.
Yeah, Andrew, I can attest to John Lewis being a rock star. I covered him for a couple of years when I worked in Atlanta. And I think I got stiff-armed by a little old lady at a ceremony he was having. I think it was the renaming of Freedom Parkway to John Lewis Freedom Parkway.
Oh,
back when that happened. So I remember, just what that was like. So to the comics, as far as Islands in the Sky, people are going to listen to this interview and they're going to say, hey, how can we get a copy? How can we help? How can folks do that?
Yeah, go to AppalachiaComics.org. So AppalachiaComics.org. You can get copies of Islands in the Sky by doing a late pledge to our Kickstarter, but then soon we're also going to have them available for sale. You can make donations. A number of people have contacted us because they want to buy copies to be donated to schools and libraries, which is a program we've already got running so that when they're ready, they'll go directly into the schools and libraries. So it starts with going to AppalachiaComics.org. And then from there, there's a lot of different ways to support it. The book will hopefully be in print next year. It's been really incredible to see all of the art and the storytelling coming together. Sometimes I get a little emotional, because it's like I lived through this. My neighbor passed away during the storm, right? Like these aren't just stories that happened to people I didn't know. These are friends of mine. These are community members that I've lived with now for a long time. And I'm really excited, for them to have this opportunity too, to be signing their own book and, giving it away to family members and seeing it in schools and seeing it in libraries. So anything anybody can do to support. We've raised about $32,000 for the book so far. It's going to cost about $50,000 to produce. So we definitely need to make up that gap so that we can go to print and do all those sort of things. But it's been a perpetual campaign. We've been working really hard at it. We've gotten a lot of support from some incredible individuals. But we need more, and we need help spreading the word. So AppalachiaComics.org.
Andrew, one last question before I get you out of here, and I thought about it. And you were talking about, you lived through this. Your neighbor passed away because of Hurricane Helene. Have you been able to process what happened through storytelling?
Yeah, that's So the story I wrote for this is called Islands in the Sky. This is where the title came from, because I had to do the first story so that we knew how to start. And it comes from the fact that I went days without hearing another person's voice because we were so isolated, right? And you get a little chirp on your two-way radio between you and your neighbor, but when the floodwaters hadn't receded, we couldn't get over there. You're just on your own. And I got this... I got on my mom's old radio, put in the D batteries, turn it on. And it was so terrifying because, you always imagine when you turn the dial on your radio, you can hear a station pretty quickly, right? But on that first day, you couldn't hear anything. It was just static, right? It was like the world had ended. And so I kept turning and I kept turning and I kept trying to work that dial. Finally, that night, I got a signal on the radio from a old Baptist church up on the side of the mountain not too far from me. And they were reading out the names of the missing. And the preacher stopped and he said, we need to take a moment to say a prayer for those that we can't find right now. We often talk about this region as the land of sky, but tonight we all live on islands in the sky. And that's the story that I've been writing, what it is to feel that sense of total isolation and then hear that first voice after that experience, right? And I'll be honest, I don't know that I've really fully processed it. It's been fits and starts. I think you don't even realize at the time what you're going through. I've had a number of talks and chats with just folks where, we're doing our work, we're getting the plumbing fixed, we're doing something, and all of a sudden, this big burly plumber guy just starts talking to you about like how scary it was and how he's been feeling, and it's not what you expect, right? I mean, this is an unprecedented experiment in coping, because this is a region almost the size of Connecticut that was hit this so hard. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people displaced in some level. And yeah, it's not like the world stops. We all have to go to work. We all have to put food on the table. And we're all just trying to get by and do the best we can. But the thing that has been so meaningful to me is almost every single one of the survivors participating in these stories has said this helped. This helped them feel less afraid. This helped them feel like they accomplished something by surviving. And I think that's what we need to remember when we make projects like this. It's not just a tool for telling the story, but the story is incredibly important. It's also a way for all of us who survived to process and experience the pain, the loss, but also the hope that we made it, that we got through this, and we'll get through it again.
Yeah, as I heard recently, to put this into perspective, no matter where you live, we're all doing life together. That's Andrew Iden. Man, thank you for your time. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure you check out Appalachia Comics Project, what Andrew has going on, the Kickstarter campaign. Incredible work. Andrew, again, thank you for your time. And look, if you're just tuning into this interview will be on our digital platforms shortly. Our incredible digital team will have the full interview up. Andrew, again, thank you for your time. We'll have to have you back soon.
And we want to let you know that our team is up in Boone the rest of the week as we come up on the 1-year anniversary since Hurricane Helene hit. Also tonight, a special on Hurricane Helene 1 year later. Tonight here on WCNC Plus, that will be at 9:30. So hopefully you get to tune in to that. We're going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. Just after 10 a.m. on a Thursday morning, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. And as we continue our coverage 1 year later after Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina, we have our team up there from morning to night, our anchor teams there from Boone, as well as some of our reporters covering so many counties that were affected, so many people giving us stories of strength, survivorship, even a little bit of guilt in dealing with their mental health capacity. Our Jessie Pierre was up there. She went to Valley Crucis and talked to a couple who are dealing with Hurricane Helene and its aftermath. We have this nice interview for you now here on WCNC Plus.
Perfect. You're a resident of what area?
Valley Crucis, North Carolina.
Perfect. How long have you lived in Valley Crucis?
Over 50 years. My husband's family built Camp Broadstone right up there, and so we have our farm across the river here from Camp Broadstone.
Nice.
Appalachian State owns the camp now, and
but in the 50s, the Breitensteins built that camp.
That's beautiful. First off, when we're talking about Helene, you've lived here 50 years. Have you ever seen a storm like that? And what made this one different?
We were here during Francis and Ivan, and this entire, the fields flooded, the Shoals Farm area flooded then, and I thought I would never see anything worse than that. But Helene was terrible. This water behind you was 25 feet higher. It looped into the road behind us. It jumped the bank here. It came across the pasture here. It washed out both of our road, it washed out onto the roads. So it was 25 feet higher. It looked like ocean waves.
And then also was there a bridge here or was it a road?
We lost our whole bridge. It's 110 feet long. It was a wooden bridge built in
1966.
1966, yeah. And it was a low water bridge that had survived all those other storms, but big trees, root balls just took it out. And yes, we lost the whole bridge, and it's been gone since that Friday, yeah, the 27th, 26th, 27th.
So in the height of the storm, were you guys home when it happened?
We were.
And so you lost access to even get out for how many days? Kind of talk to me about the challenges you faced then.
We were, of course, the weather had predicted that the storm would move quickly. We didn't have any cars out or our truck out. Our son had his car out. The neighbors, we were all stuck back here for 14 or more days until we could get something temporary, not even like this. We were going across just barely through the water and the mud, but mostly we used Kubota and the John Deere, the ATVs, and went back through that mountain there. We have a path through the woods, a tractor road basically, just a four-wheeling road. Wow. So that's how we got in and out with groceries and people at first. We actually had an elderly couple from Florida that was stuck back here, so we helped them. We were without power for 10 to 14 days, and we have a gas cooktop, so my house was the central location for food prep. We depended heavily on awesome neighbors and friends. Our friend Zach Hobbs can do anything, so he had our generators hooked up. We did get a generator in on a truck.
How many families and how many homes are on the other side of this?
16 homes, but several are summer homes. But there's 16 homes and one business, Misty Mountain Threadworks. So we have 9 full-time residents, ranging in age from my grandson is about to be 2 to my sister-in-law who just turned 80.
Wow.
So we were, dependent on the goodness of neighbors in Shoals Farm who let us use some of their property to walk in and out and travel in and out on these Kubotas. So it was It was a challenge.
Did you have damage to your home as well, or
No, we are so fortunate and very blessed that our home, our people, our homes, our cars, we all have homes up high enough off this river that what our damage was this low water bridge. And now the bank behind you can see where we've lost this low water bridge right here 10 times since Helene. It's washed out 10 times.
Oh, this thing.
This thing right here. This land bridge with the culverts. The culverts have been washed and standing straight up in the air. We've lost it 10 times. Our neighbors, Joe and Tom Holler, have big equipment and they've kept us functioning. We've spent over $22,000 just maintaining this dirt and these culverts.
And just through different storms and
different storms. If it rains 4 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, we are in trouble. If it's a flood rain.
I like to stay at home, so it doesn't matter to me.
What are you hearing as far as from NCDOT or who's
This is private.
Also, it's up to you guys to fix it anyways.
So let me just say that I worked very hard with FEMA. And they came through. FEMA is helping us, and Samaritan's Purse. I want to give a big shout out to Samaritan's Purse. They have taken us on as a project, and the state private bridge and road fund has given, I've heard from a company called JMT, we're on their list to fix our eroding bank. But Samaritan's Purse and FEMA are going to rebuild our bridge, and construction starts on the 29th.
Of this month?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well congrats.
So Green Construction of Boone is ready to roll on the 29th.
So now, when you're saying you have some neighbors who have some big trucks, some big equipment to put this together, whatever. Yeah. Talk to me about how you guys even came to have some makeshift roadway.
Well, Joe and Tom Holler have huge.
They have excavators,
and dump trucks. They've hauled in dirt. Also, I need a shout out to the Army Corps of Engineers who gave us permission to be in this river to build this temporary, what we're calling a temporary ford or a temporary dirt bridge. And Tom and Joe have hauled in part of the underpinning of the bridge that washed away. You can see these big concrete pieces. They've rebuilt this road as high as they can now to keep us functioning. And every time it washes out, it takes 2 days to put it back. So 10 times we put this back. They have.
They've actually collected, one of the culverts was down up by those rocks down there. It's washed it that far.
Yes.
And can you talk to us about the challenges it's been with all the washing in and out as far as this going away, and what does that create as far as challenges for you guys and your families? And
well, there are. 1 second. Our son is.
1 second.
Excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, our son is a teacher and his wife is a teacher. They're both at ASU right now, and they've had more of the struggle than we have, except for the fact that you always need groceries, and we were very lucky to be able to get them in and out. And we've got friends outside that have just been marvelous
and
very
we're
helpful.
Fortunate that my sister-in-law bought these vehicles, so we're able to traverse the road through the woods, but it's gotten so muddy that was dangerous. So we've mostly walked 1 week. Eric and Reagan, our son and daughter-in-law, and the 2 children, Lily is in first grade, and Avery is turning 2. But 1 week in the spring, they walked out every day to school and back in every evening, because it was too dangerous to even put little ones on this vehicle because the road was so muddy and washed out. We were afraid to travel with little ones.
So here we are, almost a year later. Obviously, so this would be the challenge you guys have now. But as we reflect a year later, of where things are, and I don't know, in the community, what you guys are seeing, what is your sentiment in general about where things stand today and the work that still needs to be done, the work that has been done?
We live in such an incredible community. We have the Baptist Men on Missions are building people's houses, Samaritan's Purse rebuilding people's houses and bridges. FEMA was here a long time. You know, it was difficult for some people to navigate FEMA because they don't have computers, or they don't navigate online, applications. But the office was open for a long time in Boone. But through the churches, the community, Samaritan's Purse, I think we're rebuilding. DOT, even our emergency management folks, everybody has been awesome to work with, and keeping us informed and trying to make sure we have the applications we need. And then the Private Bridge and Road Fund is available.
So what would you say is the sentiment you're feeling now? Like, is it a feeling of closer to normalcy? Is it, how long do you think things will be back to normal? Is there not, what are your feelings in general today or a year later?
We're getting a lot closer, but there's still a lot of damage to clean up. The river totally changed. My sentiment is Helene just did long-term damage, that it's changed the course of the river and people's living conditions forever in some cases.
I think we're pretty lucky too.
But we're lucky that I think a lot of people are almost back, but like our Valley Cruces Community Park, the nonprofit, we still have cleanup down there as well. Damage that will take years, really.
We have some friends.
Hold on 1 second, let me have him refocus. Is he good? And then.
Is that Will?
Yeah, it's Will.
Okay, yeah.
We have friends in Asheville, and they lost people. We lost a bridge,
right?
And it just breaks my heart that something like this would happen, and you have no control over it. I mean, she's talking about 25 feet of water from where it is now, and that goes over this bank and over into that field. And I've got some pictures of the rushing water. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to also. Can you say your name?
Excuse me.
Spell it.
I'm Steve Breitenstein, and we're husband and wife. And it's Breitenstein, and Breitenstein is Broadstone, translated into English.
And you have been listening to a recorded interview with our Jesse Pierre on that Valley Cruces couple, talking about their story 1 year later after Hurricane Helene hit. Our team there continuing the coverage this week as we mark 1 year later, this Saturday, the exact date since Helene hit. In the meantime, we have a special here on WCNC Plus at 9:30. We hope you join us for that. All right. Well, last night, a new champion on the finale of America's Got Talent was crowned. This is the milestone 20th season. Wow. So after an incredible journey, auditions, live shows, fierce competition against 9 outstanding, talented contestants, Jessica Sanchez walked away with $1 million as the grand prize winner and the title of America's Got Talent winner. She joins us live here now from LA. Congratulations, Jessica, on this win, as well as your 9-month pregnancy.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Jessica, I mean, I was just telling my producer, Carlene, as a speaker, when I feel a little bloated, it's hard to speak. Sometimes I don't get all my breath. I can't capitalize on my full diaphragm. Watching you sing last night, which was fierce, how did you get all those notes?
I mean, I always joke around with everybody, and I always say she kind of kicked them out of me because, I really don't know how I'm sitting here 9 months pregnant and how I got through this whole process. I had to teach myself how to sing again, but it's a good thing I have a little helper here. I really think she kicked the notes out of me.
Amazing. And did you get any sleep, by the way?
Barely, but I feel like I'm just running on adrenaline right now. I'm so excited and I'm just so grateful. Yeah.
Absolutely. An incredible story, obviously. What folks might not know about your story is that you first appeared on AGT as a 10-year-old on the show's debut season nearly 20 years ago. What made you decide to come back to AGT after all these years? What was different about your experience this time, besides being pregnant?
Yeah, being pregnant, being like just so grown now, really finding out who I was as an artist and as a woman. It's just been such a long journey of, struggle and hardship, and really kind of asking the Lord, like, is this what he wants me to do? Because just so many failures throughout my music career. I'm like, what am I supposed to do at this point? And I've been bouncing back the idea of, should I go back to AGT? Like, I really am kind of wanting to do it, but I'm not sure yet. But season 20, I guess, it was just so different. I didn't even realize it was season 20. I decided, I want to try this again. And a couple of days later, I find out that I'm pregnant. So it's just like God's timing, really. It's been such a whirlwind of emotions, and the process has been amazing. So I'm just so grateful that the end has come to this, and the end is that I'm the winner. And it's just so amazing. I still can't believe it, honestly.
Your voice is amazing, and part of the reason I read is that you wanted to leave the spotlight, I should say, is to reconnect with your heritage and identify with your Mexican and Filipino background. Tell us about that journey and how it influenced your return.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is foundation. And for a while, being so young in the industry and in music, and for having my identity wrapped in my career, I didn't know who I was or what I wanted. And so taking a step back was really essential for me to just be centered in family and my faith. And that is exactly why I am, who I am today. And I'm so grateful for the time I stepped away to give myself grace and to be able to let people to pour into me all the love that they had for me beyond, the stage stuff. So I'm so grateful for that, and I wouldn't be here without my family, my foundation of faith.
I love your selection for last night, Die With a Smile. What a great song. What made you decide to go with that song and that version of it, your arrangement?
Yeah, I just want to give a huge shout out to my band, because they really arranged, most of the all of the covers I did on the show, throughout the show, starting with Beautiful Things all the way to the end of Die With a Smile. They're just so amazing. But that song is just epic. I love that song. I love Bruno. I love Lady Gaga. And I was just so happy that I was able to do that song and do my own rendition, and that people received my rendition so well. I mean, it all happened so quickly. So I kind of had to come up with something really quickly, and I'm happy that everybody loved it.
Oh, yeah, just throw that together. So, Jessica, obviously, you're about to enter your motherhood era. Where does your artistry go from here, and what is the message that you want to help pass along to others, including your daughter?
Yeah, I think for me, it's so crazy that people have followed me on my journey from season 1 to season 20 of AGT, really like watching me grow throughout the years. And I think just taking the title home was more than the prize. It was so much more meaningful to me, because it's been so many years in the making, and it was a huge message for not only 10-year-old me, but for my daughter when she's older, to continue to believe in herself and to never give up, no matter how long it takes. So I'm super grateful for everything that's happened and this place that I'm exactly at right now.
It is perfect. Jessica Sanchez, the America's Got Talent winner for the 20th season. Congratulations to you. Panay Pride all the way. Take care.
Yes.
We wish you well. We'll watch your journey.
Thank you.
That was fun. Let's take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back out here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, I'm Jane Monreal, bringing you the stories locally as well as national and international. We heard from Jessica Sanchez, America's Got Talent winner for its 20th season, just crowned last night, and now a $1 million winner. From one musician to another, this time because of Hurricane Helene, we're talking about Eric Church. And there was supposed to be the star-studded concert in Charlotte promising to support Hurricane Helene relief efforts. But in the almost 1 year since that hit, we've learned that Eric Church had to alter his plans for how to spend $12 million of this nearly $25 million raise. Our Nate Morabito looked into this story for us here on WCNC Plus.
What started with the best of intentions has evolved into something different. Of the roughly 40 homes that will make up the new neighborhood in Newland, only 9 will go to families displaced by Helene. The rest will go to people considered pillars of the community. Eric Church, through his manager, told us that doesn't make it any less of a success. His music raised money. His words offered comfort.
The most powerful thing we have here is hope.
His actions sparked change.
We are attempting something that has never been done, but it has the potential to affect the lives of so many.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, Eric Church made it known. He wanted to ensure the disaster didn't force people out of a place he loves.
Keeping communities together in a situation like this is our most important mission.
The country singer's manager says that's still the goal. It just looks different.
We're hoping it's all positive.
John Peets tells us Church's nonprofit, Chief Cares, used $12 million from the Concert for Carolina to help create housing development Blue Haven. We're told 110 Helene survivors originally applied for the new homes. However, during the process, the nonprofit learned some victims didn't want to leave their land and move into a new neighborhood. Others didn't want to go through a background check, and some had already found alternate housing solutions, leaving 22 viable candidates, 9 of whom made it to the finish line. But Pete says all 22 received meaningful support.
We did take care of every single one of them in one way or the other.
The 9 displaced families should be able to move in by Thanksgiving.
It's very moving. It's changing their lives.
Another 30 or so, described as long-standing integral members of the community, will eventually move in later.
For the people that went to the Concert for Carolina, the website says all proceeds go to hurricane relief. What would you say to those people who might say, that's not exactly what I thought the money was going to be used for?
An entire community is affected. And it is very hard to cast any judgment on the nuance of that, especially if you spent any time on the ground. Everybody was affected. And so I think finding a lane of serving that community in a positive way and all that money is going towards rebuilding that community and keeping people in that community is what we said and what we're doing. It's not lost on me. It's a lot of money. It's from people who expected the job to be done, and I think we are doing it to the best of our ability, and I think that will show up in the stories, and I think it'll show up in the results.
Chief Cares plans on unveiling the first 2 finished homes Friday in Newland and expects to move forward with similar projects in Yancey and Mitchell counties. Church has said he expects to give away 200 homes across western North Carolina when all is said and done. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
The town of Lake Lure also pushing to reopen its main feature. Our Vanessa Rufus talking to folks there and about what they say and how they can say they're finally seeing the light.
Overlooking Lake Lure's ongoing work zone.
Right here where all the storm debris piles were at, we had to go through each pile, making sure that nobody was in there. Somebody found that American flag.
Signs of persistence amid months of grueling work.
They unfolded it and just stuck it in the ground, and all the workers here have just kind of left it.
And to this day, there are also stark reminders of what the town went through 1 year ago.
So the river was going around this home here. You had storm debris getting piled up in these trees.
Lake Lure Fire Chief Dustin Waycaster says following the initial overwhelming rescue response during Helene,
I've lost count of the number of people that our guys have helped and the number of rescues that we've had to perform.
the task of rebuilding that followed has been just as monumental.
One of my favorite things about living in Western North Carolina is I think that folks are they're real tough people, they're real resilient, and but aside from that is they're good neighbors. You know, they're going to help each other out when it matters.
On the main drag, the constant sound of dump trucks hauling storm debris and silt from the lake has been the soundtrack of the town, day after day, month after month.
They were here early in October and have been here 7 days a week, 12 hours a day since then.
Mayor Carol Pritchett says crews have removed more than 1 million cubic yards of material, bringing them within weeks of a long-awaited milestone, the completion of dredging and the start of bringing the water level back up this spring.
The water would be up to about where we're standing.
As the lake's water is their economy's literal lifeblood.
Our product really here is the lake. It has severely compromised our tourism ability.
Pritchett says they've focused on other draws in the area that can sustain them through the seasons ahead.
But golfing is great here year-round.
Yeah.
Okay. The leaves, and to looking at this is like a holiday destination for Thanksgiving and Christmas for people coming, and so we're ready for that too. So.
And while they rebuild the lake,
DEQ and dam safety, and everybody recognizes our infrastructures are 100 years old in this town.
The town is also getting ready for any disasters of the future.
That the water might overtop the dam, and everybody said repeatedly, that won't happen in a million years, but it did. And so I think everybody recognizes now our climate is a little bit different than it used to be.
Waycaster says the town is also upgrading communications equipment to address one of the main issues he says his crews faced during Helene.
We got the mobile Starlinks. We're making improvements in our cell phone coverage and our internet here in town, trying to build it back more resilient.
He says they've put in the work and will be ready to meet the next challenge should it come. A long road back, but Waycaster says the community remains unwavering, as persistent as the symbol of hope rescued from the wreckage of the storm.
There's a brighter day still ahead of us, and we're gonna build this area back. We're gonna do the best that we can for the town and get this community back to the way it was, or better.
And that was our Vanessa Rufus talking to the folks there at Lake Lure. She's going to join us again here on WCNC Charlotte starting at 4 p.m. With coverage from downtown Boone. She is field anchoring there. Our Ben Thompson covering the morning shift. Hurricane Helene 1 year later. And hope you join us again tonight on WCNC Plus for our special recovering and surviving Helene 1 year later here on the Plus. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Thanks for joining us here every morning from 9 to 11, bringing you the latest live news as well as our local headlines. We want to take you out to D.C. because happening live right now is an event. This is in Washington, D.C. It's Representative Presley, as you see there, with company. And this is a demonstration on how mass federal workforce layoffs and anti-DEI policies are impacting Black women. Let's listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Down due to the African American community.
Well, a Republican manufactured shutdown would only compound and exacerbate the harm that they have already legislated. So it would be devastating and compound that hurt. And again, the fact that these are actions that are being taken under the guise of a more efficient government. I don't know. I don't define efficiency by making people hungrier, poorer, sicker, or less safe. But every action under this Republican majority has taken us exactly there. So in a word, it would be devastating.
Representative Philip Lamb from the Medill News Service. I'm curious, are you afraid that the recent turmoil at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, including the firing and recent calls to adjust the frequency of job reports and inflation reports, that could potentially bury or otherwise undermine the important information that's being released today about around 300,000 Black women exiting the labor force?
Well, right. He fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the statistics and the story that they were telling. Because those statistics only further gave visibility into his failure and not delivering on his promise to lower costs for the American people. So I don't put anything past Donald Trump in wanting to obscure data. But what I would say is we're just calling on the Fed to do their job. And if anything, it could be worse than what we're being told. But we need the data. That which gets measured gets done. So we need that data for transparency, for accountability. And so we're calling on Chairman Powell by September 30th to analyze the data and to come up with a meaningful plan of action. Again, they have a statutory mandate of maximum employment for everyone. But in this moment, we're asking them to address the 5-alarm fire and crisis that is underway for Black women, Black families, and Black futures.
Yes. The federal government announced it was hiring back some of the people who were laid off. Is that going to impact Black women's unemployment at the federal level?
Well, you know, we've been, for any job that's reinstated, you know, I'm grateful for, because again, this is about more than people's labor. This is about their livelihood. And I should say for whether it was a probationary worker or reduction of force or someone that was a victim of a mass unlawful firing or someone who left because they felt pushed out because the environment felt so hostile. I have been so struck by the fact that their worry and concern was not of the disruption of their lives and how they would provide for their family. Their immediate concern was of the unfinished work, the work that would no longer happen because they were not in those positions. So for every federal worker, I know, given the pride they take in their job, that they are glad to be back in it. But when you lose your job, the domino effect that occurs, it takes so long to recover and to come back. And might I also add, Black women are the most educated and the most debt burdened, which is why I fought so hard for student debt cancellation. And we were making great strides there. You have Black women that are paying a mortgage and student loans before they even have a mortgage. And we made great strides there, and now all that work has been undone. And this is also exacerbating, I was talking to Melanie Campbell, the healthcare crisis. Here you have with this big ugly bill that is taking health care from 15 million people. And so for the 320,000 Black women that have been pushed out of the public and private sector, they also lost their health care. And they are being sent into a country that is working rapidly to continue to cut health care. So again, we find ourselves in a situation where people will be hungrier, poorer, sicker, and less safe. The cruelty is the point. Yes?
I'm sorry I came late. I think you already answered this question, but Russ Vought is threatening mass firings if there's a shutdown. Does this make it sort of too risky to engage in the shutdown battle right now, given the impact that will happen on black women and black families if there are mass firings from the federal government?
Again, a partisan spending bill only stands to cause more harm. We need to be focused on lowering costs for the American people right now. This bill will not do that. Insurance premiums are going to go through the roof. Look, I represent a district where in a 3-mile radius life expectancy drops by 30 years. So I'm already dealing with a crisis of people that are uninsured or underinsured. We're already dealing with disparate health outcomes. And the things that have made a difference in that are community health centers, access to quality care. All that is being undermined and degraded. So we need a bipartisan spending bill that is focused on lowering costs. And what is before us, or what has been before us, has not been that. But I will say, appealing, I'm not even saying I'm appealing to my Republican colleagues. I'm appealing to people of conscience to do the job they were sent here to do, and to make things easier, not harder. And there's still time to be people of conscience and to do the right thing and to come to the table. Yes?
As a result of the Delaware service, Congresswoman, what do you think of the recent firing of Karen Taya from the Washington Post?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked about that, because sometimes, the media is not telling the whole story about, who have been casualties of this attack on free speech. I think it's, sadly, again, there has been such a targeting. To be a black woman is to just walk in this dichotomy of being hyper visible, where you are surveyed, targeted, criminalized, while also hyper invisible, because our contributions are ignored and denied, if not relegated to a footnote, and our pain delegitimized. And that's the dichotomy that we're always walking with. So Karen Atia is just one more black woman that is being targeted by this hostile administration that is anti-blackness on steroids. Unfortunately, there is a long line of black women who have been casualties in these targeted attacks. But yes, it's another attack on free speech. Look, this is a fascist, and a fascist wants a citizenry that is ignorant and uninformed. That's right. They want propaganda. They want a citizenry where people are indifferent to the suffering of their neighbors. And they want a citizenry that is inactive. And I would argue that her good reporting was antithetical to all of that. So we stand with her. Would anyone else like to say anything about Karen or anything? Okay. Yes.
Last question, please.
Congresswoman, I was wondering if you could react to reports that James Comey might be indicted today, that the Justice Department may indict him.
Well, again, we find ourselves in a constant perpetuation of a culture under the current occupant, of a politics of grievance and retribution. And so this is one other person who was in the crosshairs of that. It's incredibly ironic. This administration is cruel, it's chaotic, it's callous, and it most certainly is corrupt. So, unfortunately, it is a consistent targeting and another act of political retribution and grievance. I think, one more?
We'll wrap from here. One more.
We're wrapping, or one more?
One more. Okay. You had said that the attack on healthcare and how it affected the African American community. Another attack that Republicans are doing is on abortion care. And talk to us a little bit about how they want to put the Hyde Amendment on the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, as the leader of the Reproductive Caucus. Talk to us a little bit about that, how it's going to affect the African American community as well.
Well, it already is. And again, I want to say for women who have been leaders in the reproductive justice space, even when Roe was the law of the land, because of the Hyde Amendment and other barriers to access, women were being denied life-saving essential health care. So it's important to note that. And we were, we've been the canaries in the coal mine in that as well. So the black maternal morbidity crisis continues to grow. No one should be denied health care because of their zip code, because of their immigration status, or how they pay their insurance. And the Hyde Amendment is, again, it is racist and has already resulted in a denial of critical essential care. And again, this is about reproductive freedom. It's ironic that the opposition, claims that they're the party of freedom when their agenda is anti-freedom. It is seeks to control your autonomy over your body, seeks to control the books that you read. It is anti-freedom. It's anti-science. It's anti-data. It's anti-woman. It's anti-immigrant. It is anti-black. But as a co-chair of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus, I'll continue to fight this fight because healthcare is a human right. And this is about access to birth control. This is about access to IVF. This is the acknowledgement. If you have an ectopic pregnancy, your treatment is abortion care. That is what it is. So this is healthcare, life-saving healthcare. So we'll continue to fight that fight. And actually later today, I'll be doing a panel on that very issue. So if you want to learn more about that, talk to my chief of staff. And we would love to see you there. Thank you.
You've been watching a live rally out of Washington, D.C. We're going to take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hi, everyone. You are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I want to take you out to a live press event happening in Miami right now. Lieutenant Governor of Florida speaking. Governor DeSantis was also there. So let's go ahead and listen in here as they talk about school choice success on the campus of FIU.
Out when I worked at places in special missions units and as a Green Beret, competition drives excellence. A rising tide floats all boats. When good people and good organizations step up beside us to help push forward and lead, everybody gets stronger because of it. Having Ken Griffin and Success Academy come to Florida is just that catalyst. It's an opportunity to push things forward, to achieve greatness, to push boundaries that we maybe haven't hit that much yet. So you've talked about universal school choice. Who does that really make a difference for? Obviously, everybody's the answer, but disproportionately, it's kids like me that came from very meager backgrounds who don't know where to go, don't know how to turn, and don't have anybody in their family to reach out to. It provides those opportunities to them disproportionately, and it helps raise those boats. I'm so grateful to have us take a strong stance. Jeanette was there day in, day out. The governor has led from the front on this, but we as a state have really grabbed a hold of this day in and day out. You heard the stats, you heard the numbers, they're incredible. But what I want to talk about is our investment in education, our investment in solving problems, but our investment in teachers. $5 billion invested. That's amazing. It is. We have to keep that up. We know that our economy and everything moving forward really is built off of what we teach our kids. It's garbage in, garbage out, but we have a commitment to excellence here, right? If you don't teach them the right things, you allow them to be drawn apart and torn apart at the seams by things that aren't focused on getting stronger, better, or raising them as valuable citizens. What happens to our state? What happens to our nation? It falls apart at the seams. We've seen that in other states, but we do not see that here in Florida because we have stood, we have led, and we've decided that not in our time. That's never going to happen. There are many people who have fought this fight, but it's been led by Governor DeSantis largely across the way. You know, life is a contact sport. It turns out that winning does matter. We have to make sure we give them the opportunity for our children to do what we did, to protect and preserve all that we love, all that we hold to be self-evident and true for our children, just as our forefathers, as our parents did for us. That is our responsibility as citizens. That's our responsibility as parents, so they can do the same thing for theirs. You know, under Governor DeSantis, Florida has led boldly. We didn't play small ball. When others hesitated, they failed to step into the breach or stand alone if necessary. We didn't. We innovated, we solved problems, and we stood for students, for families, for education, because it's the absolute best thing we can do to solve problems now, but to establish a base of success as we move forward. So I want to leave you with this. You know, where I come from, the military, and something that I talk about every day, my wife's probably going to whack me with a shoe or something later for saying this again, excellence is a choice. It truly is. It is a choice. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. That's Aristotle. But let's distill it down. It's a choice. We can aim to set the bar low, or we can aim for greatness, for excellence in all that we do. Bringing in partners like Ken, like Success Academy, that is exactly what drives us towards greatness, towards excellence. I don't know about you, but more than anything else, I will never fail as a dad and as a husband. I want the American dream for my children, just like you do yours, but I want so much more. Our nation depends on strong, focused education and people like us stepping up and standing up, and we're excited to have you here. We're excited to see what's going to happen, and we're excited to see how far we can push education forward. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the state of Florida.
Okay, Florida Commissioner of Education Stacey Koumoutsas is
All right, we're going to break away from that live event out of Florida and bring you back home here to the Queen City. There is a ribbon cutting taking place right now. It is the new Freedom Drive Wells Fargo branch with a focus on programs and resources for individuals who are, quote, unbanked. This is with Operation Hope. We'll listen in now on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
Small businesses here in Charlotte, North Carolina. How about that? I first want to start off by thanking my team. You know, this is a huge undertaking to be able to pull something like this together. And for those that are on the team, if you'll just raise your hand, be acknowledged. There you go. Look around, everyone. These are the people that make it happen. Equally important are the people that are in this branch. And so the folks that are back there, wave at everybody back there behind the tagline. They're meeting this community every day with energy and passion and focus to be able to help them strive and to be able to meet and be able to realize their dreams. And we're so excited to have you all as a part of the Wells Fargo family. So hello over there. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of things here today. First and foremost, we're going to acknowledge the work that we do with Operation Hope, which is an amazing partner. We're going to dive deep into that in just a few moments. We're also going to give you an opportunity to kind of look behind the curtains of an individual that works in our branch every single day as a part of the Operation Hope inside small business. And his focus every day is to think about not only the people that walk inside of these four walls, but how does he go out into the community? And he does that in such an amazing way. And he's going to talk to you about what that looks like. He's also going to have one of his clients here to be able to give you a sense of how they're accomplishing great things here in this community. I want to start off by talking about why we are here. And a big part of why we're here is the fact that Charlotte is one of the cities in this great country that has a large portion of unbanked and underserved communities here. And for reference, we have about 5.6 million, and I say that again, 5.6 million unbanked people, households in this country. That means they don't have a checking account, they don't have a savings account, they don't have the ability to participate in mainstream banking. And so one of the things that we want to be able to do is to eradicate that. And so when you think about the fact that, again, 5.6 million, that's 4.2% of the people in this country. And here in Charlotte, it's 2% of that average. So that is big opportunity is here. And we want to make sure that we can be a big part of remediating that and solving that. So Charlotte is one of those places that is really important to us. We see so much opportunity here, and we want to be a big part of that. And when I think about the work that I get to lead, I'm so very fortunate to be able to lead the Wells Fargo Banking Inclusion Initiative, which is Wells Fargo's commitment to being able to accelerate access to banking for unbanked and underserved communities. And if you think about that, that means we are designing products and services that are affordable, that are mainstream, that have digital access for them, and most importantly, financial education. Because we believe when you have financial education and guidance, that allows you to be able to manage your money in such a much more effective way. And that's where you begin to change people's lives. And that's super important to us. So as I think about the impact that we're able to make here, this is a community benefit. I'll say that again. This is a community benefit. This is a free service. You don't have to bank with Wells Fargo. We want you, and we want to make sure that, hey, we're here giving you a skill, helping you be able to figure out how do you navigate this world of financial inclusion. And so we want to be a big part of that. So let's get to the fun part. Let's talk a little bit about impact, the work that Thomas is doing here in this community. And Thomas has started this work roughly first part of this year, and he's just getting started. He's served over 300 clients, and half of those clients are entrepreneurs and small businesses. So I would love to give him a hand. 69% of those individuals have seen their credit score increase by 36 points. 38% have reduced their debt by $144. And 93% have increased their savings by $250. And that's really important because that's the tangible piece of it, but there's also an intangible piece that's not here. And that's where people have pride when they come in and meet with him. He's changing how they view banking. He's changing how they view balance sheets and how they view managing their money. And that is the stuff that doesn't show up in a number. That's the stuff that shows up in terms of when they go home and they talk to their kids and when they talk to their friends and their colleagues about the work that's happening here at Wells Fargo. So we want to continue to make an impact. And with that, I have the great pleasure of introducing one of my best friends at work, April Schneider, who is the head of business banking for Wells Fargo. Sure. We're going to let one of our customers.
All right. Good morning. I'm excited to be here today. I'm going to repeat a couple things Michael said because it's extremely important, as you can see, just based on my role. We are so thankful to have all of you here, all of you with us to celebrate Hope Inside at our Freedom Drive branch in Charlotte. This is an incredible day for all of us. It's inspiring to be here with so many local leaders, with community partners, business leaders, and customers of ours, and we are all united. We're here for the same purpose. We have a shared commitment to help economic empowerment and opportunity, and that's so important for all of us. And this event is a testament that once we work together, we can get all of the great things done. So I'm honored to be a part of this. Thank you for being here with us along this journey. I think you heard through Michael, and I think you could feel it in the room. Hope Inside is not a program. It's really a movement. I think you could feel it. You can feel the energy. You see it in the room. You see all the great things happening. You're going to hear from some of the customers later. You also heard Michael mention something that was wonderful. Thomas has served since November over 320 clients here. And very important to all of us is more than half of them were budding entrepreneurs or small business owners, which is wonderful. That's exactly.
You've been watching live a ribbon cutting at a new Wells Fargo in West Charlotte that is working with Operation Hope. More on that on WCNC Charlotte later this afternoon. It is almost 11 o'clock. Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great day.